Hey, what's up? I really hate being the guy that always says this, but fried calamari usually kind of sucks. It's tough and bland, and somehow most of the breading is in the basket and not attached to my squid. So today I'm gonna show you how to make very crispy, tender calamari that actually holds on to its breading. And I'm gonna show you how to make two very craveable sauces to dip it in. To get started, I need 1 pound or a rough ½ kilo of calamari tubes and tentacles. Personally, I'm a tentacle guy from way back and I need to have them in my fried calamari, but if you are not a tent guy or girl, most stores will sell calamari that have all tubes in the package like this one. The squid I'm using today was bought frozen and then thawed overnight in the fridge on a sheet tray to keep any squid juice away from my other foods. But if you're short on time, you could definitely thaw this under running cold water in the sink for about 30 minutes or so. Personally, I haven't noticed any quality drop off on that process, so I'd say go for it. Now, once these are nice and thawed, I'm gonna slice the tubes into roughly 3/4 inch size rings. I'm going with larger rings because they take longer to cook and thus will be cooked properly just about when the breading on the outside is getting golden brown and crisp. For the tentacles, I usually don't cut them, but sometimes there's a particularly large cluster like this one, and for that, I'll remove any long tentacles and then cut it in half from top to bottom. Once this whole pound of squid is cut up into friable sized pieces like this, now I'm gonna move it over into a medium bowl and then top that with a buttermilk brine. That's just 300 grams of fresh cultured buttermilk, 10 grams of salt, and I stirred it up to combine. You can use regular milk here for sure, but I prefer buttermilk because it has more flavor, it brings some acidity, and it has a thicker viscosity, which is gonna hold more breading later on and give us a crisper calamari. Once this is all tossed to combine with the buttermilk, now I'm gonna pop a lid on this stuff and let it brine in the fridge for as little as 30 minutes, but preferably like 2 hours. While that squid marinates, let's make some dipping sauces. The first of which being the classic Italian American red sauce. For that, I'm gonna need one 28-ounce can of nice crushed tomatoes, or about 800 grams. Then I'm gonna crack it open and move it over into a hide-sided container, and into that measure 1 teaspoon or a ½ gram of dried basil, 1 teaspoon or a ½ gram of dried oregano, a ½ teaspoon or a ½ gram of dried chili flake, 10 grams of sugar, 7 grams of salt, and 50 grams of tomato paste. Next, my immersion blender goes in and I'm gonna spin this up until the dry herbs are well broken down and the texture of these tomatoes is just a little bit smoother. We're gonna get a lot better dippage on this calamari if we have a smoother sauce as opposed to a chunky one. Once that's all spun up, now I'm gonna grab a medium saute pan and preheat it over medium heat. When that's heated, I'm gonna do a long double glug of olive oil, or roughly 25 grams or so, and then in goes some freshly minced garlic. That's gonna be about 2 cloves or roughly 15 grams that I minced with my garlic press. Now I'm gonna stir that garlic into the heated oil and get it frying for about 30 seconds or so, and once it's smelling aromatic and just starting to change color, in goes that pureed tomato mixture. Watch out because this stuff gets hot and ploppy very fast, so stir it to cool it off and then lower the heat to low as soon as everything is stirred in to combine. Now I'm gonna simmer this sauce for roughly 20 to 25 minutes or until it's more concentrated and the flavors have had a chance to become more fully integrated. 20 minutes later, the sauce looks thickened, and when I push my spoon through it, it just about holds itself up. To me, that is ideal dipping viscosity. Now this comes off heat and I'm gonna set it aside while I quickly bust out another option for dipping. That's a smoky, creamy Chipotle ranch. To make that into a high-sided container goes 125 grams of nice mayonnaise, 1 large garlic clove that I minced with my microplane, but a garlic press would also be a good option. Behind that goes 5 to 10 grams of the hot sauce of your choice, because I will let you decide how tough you want to be, and then 1 large Chipotle chili in adobo sauce, the kind that come in the can. Then 15 grams of lemon juice, and then 50 grams of sour cream. Yogurt works if you don't have it. From here, you guessed it, the immersion blender goes in, and I'm gonna spin that up until everything is well combined and the garlic is fully broken down. And I know you see that mayo stuck to the sides, you guys. That's because this sauce is a little bit thick, so get in there with a spatula, scrape that down to get it fully integrated, and now that looks good. This sauce is super easy to make and it has a ton of versatility. You can use it as a salad dressing for a taco salad, or throw it on a sandwich, or even in your next turkey wrap. Speaking of turkey, how about the new promotion from the sponsor of this video, ButcherBox? As you guys might know, ButcherBox delivers delicious grass-fed beef, free-range poultry, wild seafood, and crate-free pork right to your door. Right now, new members who sign up before November 16th get a free all-natural 10 to 14 pound turkey in their first order. Free turkey! 10 to 14 pounds of it. I think that's Thanksgiving sorted out for most people, including me. This turkey is just a great representation of what ButcherBox is all about too. It's no antibiotics ever, it's humanely raised, and the farm is completely traceable. If you're wondering how ButcherBox works, you go to the website and you get to pick one of 5 boxes. I personally went for the custom one, and then from there, you tell ButcherBox how often you want to receive meat, and then they pack it up frozen at the height of freshness and then ship it directly to your door. To give ButcherBox a try and to get yourself a free turkey, click the link in my description and sign up for ButcherBox by November 16th. Obviously, 10 to 14 pounds of free meat is a lot, so don't miss this one, you guys. Free turkey, link in the description. Thank you, ButcherBox. Okay, let's get back to the squid. It's been marinating in the fridge for 2 hours, and now we gotta get it breaded. To make that breading into a medium bowl, I'm gonna measure 300 grams of all-purpose flour, 100 grams of cornstarch. That cornstarch is gonna help bring a really nice crispy edge to the squid, but it's also gonna help that breading stick a lot better. Behind that, 6 grams of baking powder, and then 2 to 3 grams of finely ground black pepper. From here, I'm gonna grab my whisk and give everything a good stir until it's all well combined like this. And now, to bread this calamari, I'm gonna use my spider. This is the same tool I'm gonna be frying with in just a second, and I find it does a generally great job of pulling chunks of stuff out of other wet stuff. I'm trying to drain as much buttermilk off of the squid as I can before I move it over to the flour mixture. We really don't want a ton of excessive buttermilk making into that mixture. Once all that squid is transferred over, now to coat them, I'm gonna pull in some of that dry breading up from the bottom of the bowl to cover the top. Then I'm gonna gently give this whole mixture a toss to combine. Check it out. This stuff is lightly dusted, but also very thoroughly covered in breader, and I think it looks perfect. Now I'm gonna shake off the excessive flour really well and then transfer it over to a little baby sheet tray to be ready for frying. An alternative move here would be to use a salad spinner or a colander and shake this a little bit harder. That takes it a step further, but it also does shake off a little bit more breading than I like. Once everything's fully dusted up and looking good like this, now I'm gonna grab my fry pot, in this case a 6.5 quart Dutch oven, and into that I'm gonna measure 2 quarts of neutral frying oil. In this case I'm using peanut oil, but any high temp unflavored oil will also work. Once that's filled, I'm gonna move this pot over to the stove and then preheat it over medium-ish heat. Once this oil is up to 365F, 185C, now it's time to fry. I'm gonna be frying this calamari in 2 batches, so up front here I'm only adding in the first half. Frying the calamari in 2 batches like this really helps keep the oil in the right temperature range, but it also allows the calamari ample room to float around and to get properly crisp. Once half the calamari is in this pot, I'm gonna immediately come back with my spider and gently push things around so they don't stick to the bottom of the pot or to each other. As you can see, there's a big chunk of rings and tentacles just hanging out right in the middle, all stuck together, so I'm gonna do my best to rip that apart early on here with my spider by gently smushing it a few times like this, and there we go. That kind of broke up a little bit. Now, the fry time here is gonna be about 3 minutes in total. Like I mentioned, that's gonna be the sweet spot for squid tenderness and breading crispness. After 3 minutes, these calamari are looking lightly golden brown, quite crisp, and now they're ready to come out. From here, I'm gonna use my spider to scoop them out of the oil, give them a brief drain, and then move them over to that baby sheet tray lined with paper towel. One last touch here is to hit the outside of this calamari with a little sprinkle of salt, and now to get the next batch set up, I'm gonna skim out any large dark brown bits floating around that oil, and then I'm gonna make sure the temperature's back up to 365F, 185C, then I'm gonna lower in more squid. Wait a minute, this is a great teaching moment. Do not drop your squid in from a height like I am here. I got a decently large splash of hot oil on my hand and burnt it when a few pieces stuck together and then fell as a glob from a height. The safer move here is to gently lay the calamari in with your spider. That way the tool does all the work and your hand is pretty far away from the oil. I'm a loser. 3 minutes later, or about 7 minutes since we started frying, we've got a full sheet tray now of finished calamari that all look so dope. Now to plate this up, I'm gonna lay down some folded parchment paper into a bowl. That's gonna help absorb any more excessive oil. Then I'm gonna pile it high with hot, fresh calamari. You guys, the look of this calamari says it all. It's tender, well seasoned, and the breading just won't quit. Listen to the sound of it. I really hope you guys give this recipe a try soon, and I wanna know what you think about it down in the comments. Let's eat this thing.